Today's reading comes from Luke, the 12th chapter. Jesus said, "I came to bring fire to the earth, and how I wish it were already kindled. I have a baptism with which to be baptized, and what stress I am under until it is completed. Do you think that I have come to bring peace to the earth? No, I tell you, but rather division. From now on, 5 in one household will be divided, 3 against 2 and 2 against 3. They will be divided, father against son and son against father, mother against daughter and daughter against mother, mother-in-law against her daughter-in-law, and daughter-in-law against her mother-in-law." He also said to the crowds, "When you see a cloud rising in the west, you immediately say, 'It's going to rain.' And so it happens. And when you see the south wind blowing, you say, 'There will be a scorching heat.' And it happens. You hypocrites, you know how to interpret the appearance of earth and sky, but why do you not know how to interpret the present time?" The cone of the jack pine needs fire to release its seeds because they're coated in a thick resin. Without a fire, the resin won't melt. And because of this protective resin that keeps seeds dormant for years until a fire releases them, jack pines are a species of plant that dominates after destruction, making way for other species to take root. Today's gospel isn't one I would have picked. Lucky for you, the Revised Common Lectionary gave it to us anyway. And this rotation of texts has a way of putting passages in front of us that perhaps we wouldn't otherwise consider. Jesus doesn't sound much like I'd like him to sound in this passage, except it's not actually out of character for the Jesus we know in Luke. This is the same gospel that has Mary singing about the rich going away hungry and the poor being fed, the mighty being cast down and the lowly being lifted up. Those things don't happen without the world turning upside down. Luke tells us of a Jesus who is ushering in a new, more just world, and these kinds of changes simply don't happen without growing pains. These past few years particularly have seen us reset our language and question the ways in which we've allowed our systems to work in ways that allow some certain people to amass wealth to the great detriment of others. We've seen how fires and floods impact the most vulnerable, and more insidiously, we know the very air we must breathe and the water we must drink is often contaminated with chemicals that make us sick. With the passage of the most sweeping climate change bill in history this last Friday, as a country, we are finally acknowledging that the earth is crying out for us to dramatically shift course. And we are starting to make that shift. The solar panels currently sitting in my driveway waiting for installation mean that our household's energy consumption will shift dramatically from fossil fuels to mostly renewable energy. My neighbors in the historic district where we live will see that it is indeed possible to put up solar panels in Michigan. Not only possible, but advantageous. And that the city's Historic District Commission is in fact in favor of retrofitting even historic buildings so that they are prepared to meet the modern world's challenges and needs. As more of my neighbors take steps like this to wean themselves from fossil fuels, our utility companies will also have to do the same or be left behind. Ford has stopped taking orders for its new electric Lightning, which is an electric truck, because it can't meet demand. And although electric cars remain pretty expensive and out of reach for most folks, they're no longer actually impractical as an only car. This climate bill will push our infrastructure forward to meet our new economy's needs and make these technologies more affordable and accessible and normal for the rest of us. But that means that companies and countries that have gotten rich off of burning carbon will have to shift how they make their money. And that is going to mean conflict as we make that change. The fires across the West Coast in Australia and Europe have been destructive. But they have also signaled to us that we cannot continue as we have and expect to have a world worth living in, even during our own lifetimes. It means that even a certain senator who has long held out against this overdue move because of his ties to the fossil fuel industry could no longer actually withhold his vote. And let's be clear, if we do shift dramatically toward renewables, if we do change our patterns of consumption, it will rock the economy and our world. People will need new training and new kinds of jobs. They will need to learn new patterns in their lives. Whole countries will need to figure out a different way of interacting with the rest of the world. We may have to redefine what constitutes a healthy economy. We may start to look at quality of life rather than simply the stock market index as we figure out how this life is working for all of God's children. No one likes change, and systems are no exception. Change must be demanded. And even more than that, change must be expected. Because it's not enough to say we want change. We are called to use the tools at our disposal to make that change a reality step by step. I'm not arguing here, nor will I ever argue for violence, and I don't think Jesus is either. But Jesus refuses to accept a false peace that does violence to the most vulnerable while allowing the powerful to feel safe and to continue in their established patterns. So what, as Christians, are we called to do in such a time as this? How do we run the race set before us? Our choices matter individually and collectively. Our votes matter. Our ways of consuming and being matter. We can consume less, eat less meat, drive smaller cars. All of those things make a difference, not just because we're doing them, but because our actions and habits spread through our communities and become communal rather than just individual. And communally, those actions together mean that companies start to take notice and governments start to take notice. And those small changes become very big changes. Jesus doesn't let us get away with the untruth that we can continue to do what we've always done and still be resurrection people. The old must pass away for the new to take root. And that can feel really scary and disorienting, but it's necessary. New life is always growing, but it needs a place to take root. And like the jack pine, sometimes the earth must be scorched before the seed can find its place to grow. Amen.